Hi everyone, today we're going to conquer binary representation. But before we start, don't forget to hit the like button to subscribe, and also don't forget to click on the link below to access the worksheets. Download the worksheets, make sure you complete those to practice what we've covered today. Now, the first thing that I want to mention is when representing in binary, we're talking about base 2. In other words, zeros and ones. So everything that's stored on a computer is going to be stored in zeros and ones. Now, if you are asked why we're storing in zeros and ones, it's because computers are made up of many, many switches. And switches can only have two states, either on or off, meaning zeros and ones. So we're going to start off with looking at converting Denary numbers into binary. So I'm just going to remove this. So Denary, in other words, decimal numbers, converting them into binary format. Now, the first thing that you want to think about is normally you're going to be representing using 8 bits. Could be more or less, but we'll talk about that later. And before you start, you want to have your column headings. So in other words, 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, and 128. Okay, here's your least significant bit. There's your most significant bit on the left-hand side. Okay, now how did we work this out? 2 to the power 0 is 1, 2 to the power 1 is 2, 2 to the power 2 is 4, and so on. Okay? Right, so we're going to go from denary to binary to start off with. So, let's say we are representing the number 147 into binary, or 8-bit binary. So 147, you start from the most significant bit, 128, which goes into 147, so we put a 1. Now, if we added 64 to that, that would go above 147, so we put a 0. 128 plus 32, that would take us over 147, so we put a 0 there as well. 128 plus 16 could work. That will give us 138, 44, I think that is. So that would give us 144. And that is a difference of 3 to 147. So 3 is there, 2 plus the 1, and we can put the zeros in there. So that gives you 1001, 0011 for 147. Okay, let's take another example. So I'm going to take 109. Okay, so for 109, 128 is too big, so we put a 0. 64 goes into 109, we put a 1. So 64 plus 32, that gives us 96. Okay, so we can put a 1 there. Okay, add the 16, that will take us over, so that's not going to work. So 96, we would then add the 8, plus the 4, plus the 1. Oh. And that will give you 109. Okay, one more for practice. So let's say we're taking 87, and we're going to represent that in binary. 128 is too big. 64 goes into 87. 32, if you add 32 to it, it will take you over. So put a 0. 64 plus 16 can work. And that gives you 80. Plus the 7, we need another 7. So 4, 5, 6, 7, and put a 0 there. That will give you 87. So there we've represented 3 denary numbers into binary. Okay. Right, if you are ever asked in the exam to represent a particular number, let's say 87, using the least number of bits, then you can get rid of the 0. Okay, so anything that has a 0, it doesn't really count, and then you've got 7 bits. Okay, sometimes, on occasions, they may ask you to represent a binary number using the least number of bits. If, however, they ask you to represent a number in 16 bits or 2 bytes, there's a way around that. So let's just take 87. If you've got 87 using 8 bits, to represent that using 16 bits, all you need to do is add on another 8 bits at the beginning. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then you copy that 8-bit binary out. So that's 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1, 1, 1. And that would give you a 16-bit binary number. Why 16 bits? Because obviously computers don't work in random numbers like 9 bits, 10 bits, and so on, or 7 bits. If you're going to add more bits or bytes, it would be 2 bytes. So here you've got a number representing 16 bits or 2 bytes. Okay, right, let's move on to representing binary to Denary, because they can ask you to do it the other way round. Okay, so right, okay, so we'll take, I'm going to give you a random number. Here we go. You could be given an 8-bit binary number, and all you need to do is convert that into Denary. And here you've got 128 plus 8, which would give you 136, plus the 4 will give you 140, plus the 2 plus the 1 will give you 143. So all you need to do is write down the number. So that's generally quite straightforward if you are having to convert from binary to Denary. On the odd occasion in the exams, they could ask you to represent a number that has maybe 10 bits, and you convert that. So you do need to be familiar with your column headings if you are asked to represent a number. For example, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, here is a 10-bit number. Now, if you're asked to convert that 10-bit binary number into Denary, the first thing you want to do is add the column headings. Without that, you are likely to make mistakes. I've seen that many times in my teaching. So we put the column headings in: 16, 32, 64, 128, 256, and 512. Okay, get your column headings in, because as I said, you're likely to make mistakes without it. You might end up missing out a bit. It's just, the safest way to do this. So all you need to do now is just add them up. 512 plus 8 will give you 520. Plus the 4 will give you 524, plus the 1 will give you 525. Okay, so that would be, the odd exam type question at A level where they're trying to just throw you off. Okay, I'm just thinking, is there anything else that I can give you in terms of tips? In this case, if it was the least number of bits, obviously you've got what you're given, so there's nothing that you can do about that. But I think the most useful tip that you need to take from this session is to use the column headings that will help you in terms of reducing mistakes. Just being aware that you're unlikely to be given an 8-bit binary number. If you are, it's probably worth 1 mark, but otherwise they can give you more bits to represent in Denary, or they might even give you a question where they're asking you to represent it in the least number of bits. Read the question carefully.